Hey guys, Jack here. Today we're going to be looking at Genesis chapter 16, verses 1 through 6. In this story, Abraham, who at this point was still Abram, God had not given him his new name yet, had just gotten a promise from God that he would be given a son. But he's 75 years old already, and he's wondering, how is God going to fulfill this promise? Let's take a look. Now, Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. She had a female Egyptian servant whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, "Behold now, the Lord had prevented me from bearing children. Go into my servant, it may be that I shall obtain children by her." And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. So after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her servant, and gave her to Abram, her husband, as a wife. And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on her mistress with contempt. And Sarai said to Abram, "May the wrong done to me be on you. I gave my servant to your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on me with contempt. May the Lord judge between you and me." But Abram said to Sarai, "Behold, your servant is in your power. Do to her as you please." Then Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she fled from her. Now, Abraham and his wife had been given this promise. They had an end goal given to them by God, but they did not consult God on how he was going to fulfill the promise. So, Abraham took this matter into his own hands. He had a son with his wife's servant, and we can see what resulted from that. Abraham should have followed God's plan, but he decided that even though the plan was God's, it was up to him to make it happen. There are a lot of times in our lives where we too know what God has given us to do. We have the end goal, but we decide that God is leaving the details up to us. This puts us in a situation where we are trying to obtain divine ending with human means. Now there is a good ending in this story regardless. We see later in Genesis that God still provides Abraham with his son Isaac, and Hagar's son is blessed by God as well. Even when we make a mistake, God is there to reconcile us back to himself. As we go through our week, let's take stock of the promises that God has given us, and make sure that we are following through in a way that is bringing God into the process. How can we follow God's plan with God's actions? Thanks so much. See you guys soon.